Good evening. It is Tuesday, October 12th. This is the Board of Education meeting for Guilford, Connecticut. Thank you for joining us tonight. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and so I ask you to join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome tonight. As has been the way that we have run these meetings for many months, we are going to ask, and we will keep masks on, except for the person speaking. Our choice to do that is simply to make sure that you, the viewing public, are able to hear us. And then when we stop speaking, we will put the mask back on. I do want to note briefly, Dr. Freeman was unable to join us tonight because of a family emergency. He would otherwise be here. The first order of business is action on the minutes of September 13th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved. Second.
Second. Any corrections on these minutes? I had just a couple of minor ones. On page 1, number 4, public forum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines down. There's the word attached, which should be attacked. On page 3, under 8.3, introduction of family equity liaison, the first paragraph, the very last line, I believe the lead up will also serve as a consultant to advise, instead of him of, advise on patterns on the concerns raised to be able to provide support for all students. And then on page 5, number 11, public questions. I believe the first person who spoke before us was Clarice Yasuhara, Yasuhara. Any other?
I have one
Yes,
change.
go ahead.
On page 5, 10.5, liaison to Learn Board of Directors, it says that I mentioned that they had double the number of children enrolled this year over last, and they had double the number of applicants,
Okay.
but the same number of students enrolled.
Thank you. Any others? All right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye. Any against or abstentions? No. All right. Thank you. Next, the minutes of September 27th, the workshop meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any corrections or comments? Hearing none. We have a first and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye. All right, that is everyone. Thank you. All right, it is now time on the agenda for public forum on topics on the board agenda only. If there's anyone here who would like to address the board on a topic on the agenda, we invite you to come up. All right, I'm seeing none. Mr. Mitchell, is there anyone online we need to? No. Okay, terrific. Next, review and approval of expenditures of the month. I'm going to turn to Mrs. Rader.
Thank you, Dr. Bellis-Tracy. I reviewed the financial reports for September 2021 with our business manager, Linda Trudeau, and we also went over this in larger detail in our operations committee meeting, which happens right before this meeting. Expenditures for the month of September were $4,945,232.40. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of September were 21.44% of the budget, as compared to 21.15% in 2021 and 21.27% in 2019-20. Just to understand, in our August Operations Committee meeting, we decided to add a column to our financial report to evaluate not only this year and last year, but the year prior to COVID, because we think it's a good thing to track in terms of what our typical expenses were pre-COVID, during, and now hopefully on the after. Revenue for the September 2021 was $29,440.80, which included funds from Medicaid, pre-K tuition, and a small donation from Coca-Cola. So that being said, the warrant we are submitting is a total of all payments for the month listed alphabetically. The total of payments listed on the warrant is $2,356,979.57. So like I said, we reviewed more detail of the warrant, and we pretty much satisfied any questions we had in the committee meeting. But if there's any other questions from the board right now, I'm happy to answer those.
None? All right, can I have a motion to approve those financials?
So moved.
Second? Excellent, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, terrific. Communications, this is an opportunity for us to note any communications that we have received. I do want to note that we received an email from the president of Guilford ABC, Marie Berry, who asked that I would read her short email into the record. Guilford ABC, an organization established almost 50 years ago to offer young women of color the opportunity to attend a high-quality public high school and a preparatory college track program, supports our Guilford BOE and Superintendent Dr. Paul Freeman. Guilford ABC encourages the Equity and Social Justice Initiative in the Guilford Public Schools. We agree that having students learn from perspectives beyond their own will help prepare them to be critical thinkers and thoughtful citizens engaged in our interconnected, diverse global society. We see firsthand how much our talented Guilford ABC scholars enhance our community with their diverse background and perspectives. And I certainly want to thank Marie Berry and all involved in Guilford ABC for this remarkable program. Thank you. Are there other communications to be shared? All right. We're just moving right along here tonight. This is a fun time of year for us every year, because in October we get to meet new student representatives to the Board of Education, and often have returning student representatives as well. Mrs. Chaff, do you have a kind of a brief introduction you can provide for us? Thank you so much.
I'd be happy to. One of our representatives you know well, Jerry Lee, he could not be here tonight because he had a soccer game, but he will be returning for his senior year. And he is also serving this year as one of the co-presidents for the class of 2022. He not only plays soccer, but he also fences, and his interests in mathematics, physics, and science make him a strong participant in the Olympiad team. So we're excited to welcome him back for his senior year. You also have two new faces at the table this evening. We have Sean Johnson and Ruby Espejo. They are both juniors. Sean is particularly interested in studying business and management. So he's involved in a lot of the business-related classes at the high school. In addition, he is a member of the Guilford tennis team, involved in the business club, no surprise there, as well as in Pilgrim Fellowship. Ruby is very interested in going into politics later in life, specifically international relations and the United Nations. She's very involved in Unified Sports, the Leadership Congress at GHS, GHS's GSA, Spanish Honor Society, and she's excited to be a part of the Board of Education as a representative this year. So those are our newest members, and I will turn it over to them.
Wonderful, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The schools that I am representing are Adams Middle School and A.W. Cox, and for tonight I'm covering Baldwin Middle School. At Adams Middle School, they held back to school night, which was virtual, and it was very well attended. Sports are happening again after a long 18 months of not having any sports, and the sports that are currently going on are field hockey, cross country, soccer, and volleyball. The select music groups, such as Honor Band and Select Chorus, are up and running again. There are many clubs that students can join, such as Unified Sports, and also they can be involved in the Student Council. The Homework Club is also a resource for students, and there are high schoolers that go down to help them and to tutor them, but there are also faculty and staff at the Homework Club after school to help those students in need. Now that school is fully in person, Adams is running many team building activities to help the new students transition into this new yet normal-ishly weird school year. With A.W. Cox, it is great to have the elementary schools back in the 5 days a week. Students are adjusting well to their new routines, and they're transitioning to new learning communities. That transition is going very well. For Baldwin Middle School, they're starting the new school year by focusing on students' emotional and social emotional well-being. Quote, utilizing our professional learning time and coaching to support our district's approach to learning, end quote. 5th and 6th graders did a session at Camp Hazen for team building, where they also focus on relationship building activities, as well as getting to know each other. Back to school night was held on 2 different nights for the 2 different grades, and it was held also virtually. The PTO has helped to support Baldwin Middle School a lot. They help support Camp Hazen, those trips, the Baldwin Middle School float at the Guilford Fair Day Parade, as well as they're hosting a trunk or treat at the end of this month. And their clubs will be starting in early November, and they have a numerous amount of clubs that are going on. And currently in Guilford High School, we are doing very well in sports. Field hockey is currently at a record of 9 wins and 1 loss, but that is to Darien, who is a very, very tough team and number 1 in the state and 3 in the nation. Soccer, boys and girls are doing very well. For girls, we just beat Madison 2-1. One of our juniors scored both goals for Guilford, and she's new to our school. She's from Mexico City. As well as we are up and running with a lot of our clubs. We have held a numerous amount of clubs in person, and the faculty and administration is focusing on being more conscientious of the students' needs as it relates to the tough times we had last year during COVID. Personally, it was a tough year as a student, but we all got through it, and I think that this will only make us stronger as a community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to be covering 3 elementary schools today. So at Jones, the 4th grade students won Most Creative for their bee-themed Guilford Parade float. Quinn from 3rd grade won the spelling bee at the Guilford Fair. And Jones held its welcome ceremony for all new attending Jones students. So that includes the kindergarten as well as any new students who happen to come. There was an outdoor reading celebration that was held to recognize all of the reading that was done as a part of the Governor's Summer Reading Challenge. Under Lakes, on October 2nd, the students honored the custodians by creating postcards and posters to celebrate National Custodians Day. And Guilford Lakes was represented by Miss G at the Tunnels to Towers run in New York City. Covering LEAT, at LEAT, the 2nd graders are learning how to tell the difference between fact and opinion statements in the library. And fourth graders are learning about literary theme and the author's overall lesson or message in a book. And the kindergarten class are learning how to find the author, title, and illustrator on covers of books.
Excellent. Well, welcome
Thank you.
to the Board of Education. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
You guys are pros.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was excellent on the first time out. Throughout the year, we are always going to be interested in any feedback you might want to share on the topics that are on our board agenda. So please do not hesitate if there are things that you would like to weigh in on. We would love to hear them.
Thank you.
Things that you want to share from the student body, things that you personally have opinions on. So please feel free to speak up. We always invite you to stay and recognize that you have busy lives and homework, so that you are under no obligation to stay past your report. So just feel free, depending on what works best for you. But thank you for being here, and thank you for taking on this commitment. We really appreciate it, and it's really important that we get a student voice as part of our consideration and decision making. And appreciate that you've stepped up to do that for us.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you. All right. Superintendent's report. I know Dr. Crystal and Mr. Bowden are going to help us out tonight with some of this. The first item is the enrollment report. So Dr. Crystal, I think I'm turning to you.
Yeah, and you should all have the enrollment report in your folder, and since I am pinch hitting, this is going to be pretty brief. Dr. Freeman asked me to draw your attention to the third page. There are just two notable items there, and that is that our kindergarten sections have grown this year from 11 last year to 13 this year. And the other thing to note on that page as well is that our average class size has grown from 18 last year to 19 this year. So those are the two notable items that he did ask me to convey to you.
Okay. It does look like, well, certainly a 19 average would suggest this anyway, but it certainly looks like all our class sizes are within the guidance that we have in our policies. And not surprising that we have that number of kindergartners
Right.
this year
Yes.
because of the much lower number last year.
Right.
Yeah. Are there questions that any of my colleagues have?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Sands.
This year, we had a big rebound in kindergarten. Did we have to hire any additional teachers to take care of this demand?
No.
Good.
And I will note, this is, for those who follow us on the Board of Ed here, long-term, we've been watching a declining enrollment per grade, kind of marching through the school system. And I'm looking kind of at a dividing line at the moment between our 8th and 9th graders, where we have a class of 226 in 8th grade and 265 in 9th grade. You know, we've been seeing, the state of Connecticut has been seeing declines in enrollment in school districts across the state for many years. Guilford has been very slow in those declines. We credit that with a number of things. I think we like to certainly credit what we think is a pretty terrific school system, but the new high school, we think, probably changed some enrollment patterns in school, in district. Special ed has provided some options for families that really need it. So we've been lucky to not have the impact of lower enrollment that many other school districts have had, but we do have some, and it looks like that's where we're seeing the dividing line at the moment. Any other thoughts on?
It's also important to note that we continually stay above the study
Yes.
that was conducted, and it's, it's nice to
pretty
always be above that
remarkable.
line. Yeah.
Right, right. We're looking here at a graph. We had a demographic study. We do this frequently. It really helps us plan ahead. And Mr. Delventura is referring to the fact that the demographic study, if I eyeball this, indicated that we would have probably 400 or so fewer students.
Just about 400, yeah.
Than we actually have right now, that it was predicting a far lower enrollment than we've had experienced. So, all right, terrific.
And just to clarify, Mr. Sand's question, as we've seen through the years, we reallocate staffing where the needs are. Sometimes we have, especially at the elementary school, grade levels where sections are less than the year before. So when an FTE opens up, if there's an increase in another area, very often that FTE will go to where that need is, which would mean that we'd fill it from within instead of having to add a position, and that's what we did this year.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. All right, COVID-19 update. Say that with a mask on. Mr. Bowden, I think I'm going to turn to you for that.
Sure. Like Dr. Crystal, I only have 3 items to report to the board relating to COVID-19. Dr. Freeman wanted the board to know that the newest executive order relating to masking is now, it was coming up due this fall, has now been extended through February 15th. So it'll be here for at least the near future. We currently have 96% of all of our employees fully vaccinated, and those that are not have been doing a great job complying with the weekly testing requirement. So that's been going well, and we thank them for that. And also, in the last 2 weeks, we have no school-related quarantines. So
Excellent.
we have been doing well recently.
Yeah, that's right. That is absolutely terrific.
And I do want to say to the community, thank you very much for your support, certainly with the masking. The kids have been absolutely fantastic at school in wearing their masks. And it's hard to remember a time when they didn't have them on, you know. But I want to thank you for that. Sometimes it's difficult to do, even for adults. But as we go through the buildings, Dr. Crystal and I and Dr. Freeman, throughout the week, you know, both the staff, our extended employees, and the kids have just done a great job.
Terrific. Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions at the moment? All right. Okay, so we are up to number 9, board agenda. 9.1, to act on personnel items. We have been asked to ratify the appointment of the following 2 teachers. Elizabeth Evans, 0.4 full-time equivalent at Guilford High School French teacher. And Melissa Minikine, full-time Jones Elementary School special education teacher. Is there a motion to ratify the appointment of these 2 teachers?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's everyone. Thank you. 9.2, to approve the donation of $1,668 from the Guilford High School Stick Club for the salary of an assistant coach for the field hockey team. Is there a motion to approve this donation?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we certainly thank the Stick Club for this wonderful donation. We have a number of organizations, booster clubs that support our many athletic teams. And this is very much appreciated. And we do have the opportunity to say thank you for that. All right. 9.3, to receive the 2022-2023 preliminary budget timeline. It's kind of hard to believe we're starting to talk budget already. But we already have budget forms in the hands of the district leadership team. They are starting to think about budgets for the 2022-2023 school year. This is a receive item only tonight. This provides us with a plan from September through next April. You'll notice a number of TBDs there. And some of these dates will have to be finalized. But again, it gives us a sense of some of the next steps. We will have coming soon, and we will certainly make sure that we let the public know. In the fall, we hold a public forum on the budget in the sense of kind of what the public would like to see as budget priorities. At that point, we obviously don't have a budget to share. We are in the stages of putting one together, but it gives the public an opportunity to come to the board and share with us things that they are interested in seeing us consider. All right, 9.4, receive for possible action, the crisis management plan. This is a very lengthy plan, and in fact, lengthy set of plans that map out the approach and procedures, processes in which the district and each of our schools plans in the case of a crisis or an emergency. In the operations committee that occurred just prior to this meeting, the board discussed this a little more substantively. Mr. Sands, is there anything you wanted to add from that meeting?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. This is obviously a plan that is a confidential plan because it does in fact provide the school with the ability to deal at times with some security issues, but it is one that we have had the opportunity to review carefully and have the opportunity, if the board is ready, to receive for possible action tonight. So if people are ready and someone wants to make a motion, we can. So move. There we go. Second. All right. Any other questions? Again, this was covered at the last meeting. No? All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Terrific. Okay, and then 9.5, to act on the submission of Consolidated Grants application. Dr. Crystal, I'm going to ask you to guide us through this a little bit, if you would.
Sure. These are federal title monies that come to us every year. They're allocated every year, and around this time, we submit the grant proposals to the state. The thing to note, in addition to each of the 4 parts of the title grants, is that this year our allocation has dropped again. It dropped last year as well. So we are down a total of about $13,446 in title monies that compared to what we received last year. So typically these monies are used for the things you see on the exhibit, professional learning for teachers. We've used it for summer programming. We've used it for trainings for coaches and teachers. We've used Title III monies for tutoring services for ELL students. So there are a variety of different uses for this money, and so you have the bottom line there, $185,502.
Okay. I have a different amount on my sheet. Are we looking?
You should have an updated one in the folder.
There we go.
Yep,
All right, so
because
everyone.
The reason that you have an updated one
Thank
is
you.
because the allocation for Title IV was not available.
Oh,
when
terrific.
When the
Yes.
agenda was first printed, so now you have the allocation for Title IV as well.
And Dr. Crystal, a question, the decrease is something that I imagine districts are seeing across the state
Yes.
and country. This is
Yes.
not specific to Guilford.
No, no.
Okay,
The total pool has shrunk, so our part of it has shrunk.
okay. So again, these are ESSA grants, Every Student Succeeds Act grants, Titles 1 through 4. And again, the updated one in our packet has an allocation for the Title IV Part A that had not been available prior to this. Are there any questions before we vote on this? No questions. All right. Is there a motion to act on the submission of this consolidated grants application?
So moved. Second.
Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. That's everyone. Terrific. Okay. Number 10, reports of committees. The policy committee. Does the policy committee have a report for us tonight?
Yeah, well, we met on September 27th and had a pretty full agenda of items. Nothing that we're bringing forward to the board this month, but things we're reviewing, past policies that might need some updating, and some new policies kind of reacting to more current needs. And our next meeting will be scheduled for November 22nd.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. Operations Committee, Mr. Sands, is there anything from the prior meeting that you wanted to report on tonight? Okay. Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment Committee?
Yes, we have not met since May, but we will be meeting at the end of this month, October 25th, and we will announce our agenda very soon, coming up.
Okay. Liaisons to any of our town committees? Are there any reports?
Just that the Land Acquisition Committee is exploring additional bonding for future purchases.
Okay,
So,
terrific.
yeah.
Any other town reports? All right. Liaison to Learn Board of Directors, Mrs. Peck, is there anything to report?
No,
This
our
one?
next meeting is Thursday.
This happens quite
does.
frequently, doesn't it? Yes, the way this lands, I know, we just miss it.
And then it's a month-old information.
All righty. Okay. We are now up to another opportunity for public questions. If there is anyone either on our Zoom link or here tonight that has questions or comments for the board, you are certainly invited to come up and do so. We do ask that you limit your question or comment to 4 minutes because we do want to make sure if there are multiple people that everyone has a chance. Is there anyone who wanted to address the board this evening? We simply ask that when you come to the podium, you provide your name and address for the minutes. That would be very helpful.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good, thank you.
My name is Nathan Pollock, and I live at 106 Russet Drive, like the potato. Back in August, I spoke about the reality of racism. I may be a one-trick pony here, but I again brought my visual to demonstrate an example of racism. This is an African-American male, and it is difficult for him to find a Band-Aid that blends with his skin. That's racism. Why is that racist? Does anyone want to try? It's because the companies who make Band-Aids don't think it's necessary to make ones specifically for black and brown people. To be fair, some Band-Aids companies are making them in multicolors now after George Floyd's murder, but it's still hard to find them. You can't find them in the Guilford Big Y, but that may be because our town is so white. Well, how do you think this man feels? You can try to imagine it. Why don't you? Listen, if we're going to cure the cancer of racism in this country, we first have to admit that racism exists. And that seems to be really difficult for some people right here in Guilford. The next step is to open our minds to becoming more aware of this cancer all around us. The only way to become aware is to learn. You have to want to learn. Our Guilford schools are trying to do just that, and I don't see why that's alarming. Learning about our controversial past as a country and the astonishing diversity of race, culture, language, religion, and gender that exists in this country is not about indoctrination or contamination. row B people.
I'm going to ask, please,
Okay.
this is Board of Ed content. This is
Sorry.
not about elections or candidates, please.
It's not about indoctrination, it's about love. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, people should feel free to come up if you have a Board of Education content issue to address with us. I ask that we're not, this is not a place for candidate talk, election talk, or other related campaign. No, thank you. No, that's okay. Just a reminder. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Clarissa Suhara again. And I wanted to invite everyone present to attend the Guilford Human Rights Commission event that is coming up on October 18th. And it is where we're going to have current and future students of Guilford talk about some of the issues that they face once they leave our town and go on to colleges and universities and other jobs. So that is happening via Zoom. It is all virtual because some of these alumni are, out in the world. And so they have donated their time to show us some of their realities once they leave Guilford. Aside from that, I got the communications email about I don't want to say it's a food shortage, but the transportation issues that the staff is having with the food, the lunch. And I mean, obviously I don't know the details of that, but Guilford is an agricultural community. Are we using the resources we have locally, in terms of local businesses and farms and to provide the food for our children?
I can't speak for the detailed approach that we take. I will say that when we have food, kind of supply chain, I think is really what we're talking about, supply chain shortages. With a school system of 7 schools, it's a little more complicated an issue in terms of inventory, in terms of purchase relationships we have, et cetera. But it is certainly a wonderful suggestion to support local.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely. I don't see, it would certainly be healthier too, more environmentally conscious, and, I can think of a dozen other different things that would benefit us as a community. And then I just wanted to take a minute to recognize the cafeteria workers and the school bus drivers who have been dealing with a lot of these issues this year. I know my personal experience with the bus drivers has been a positive one since my son started kindergarten. I know there's always like a little bit of a setback in the beginning of the years, but overall, especially considering the shortages that, many school districts are dealing with, I just want to applaud them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. I'm sure they do as well. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board this evening? Mr. Oh, yep.
I will stumble up.
Oh, no, please be careful.
Hello.
Hi.
Jessica Harrington. I live at 464 Granite Road. I wasn't planning on speaking, but the first gentleman that came up said something that sparked some comments I'd like to share. So he asked everyone here to imagine how the person in the picture that he had felt when he couldn't find a Band-Aid. And the fact is that most people, if not everyone in this room, has to imagine what that feels like. You don't have to imagine how difficult it is to be a person of color in Guilford and walk downtown and go into a store and be stared at. You don't have to wonder how your children feel in a classroom surrounded by students who don't look like them. Many of you don't have to worry about how your child feels when they're in a classroom with a teacher who's a role model who doesn't look like them and does not share their experiences. Well, I do. I live here in Guilford. I have 2 children who live here in Guilford and who go to school here in Guilford. And these are experiences that we live each and every day. I would like to just say thank you to each of you for the work that you are doing to ensure that my children feel celebrated, that my children, while they may be different or look different, they know that it's okay. That teachers are given the necessary support that they need to ensure that all students in our classrooms know that we will not tolerate anything outside of accepting one another. I moved to Guilford about 3 years ago from a neighboring shoreline town because I didn't feel accepted in that town. And I knew that I did not want to raise my children in a town that would not celebrate them. And so my husband and I looked around and tried to find the best place to go, and it was Guilford. And we are here. We're not going anywhere. And I want to thank you for all that you are doing to make sure that we feel like we are home. That's it.
Thank you.
David Malillo, Mirror Lane. That's mirror like in mirror. And I'm also coming up here to thank you. I saw a sign when I passed in about some great achievement for the school. As I was walking down to this meeting, I heard the discussion of enrollment increasing and no new hires to meet that need. I think it was in kindergarten, if I followed that correctly. And there are lots of people who want opinions to matter like they're facts. And that conspiracies are at our every door. And you have stood for the science and the truth on that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Scott, 210 Saddle Hill Drive. I guess I'm coming up to thank you again, well, along with everyone else, but I want to have a preamble. In my rather humble opinion, this is the best country in the world, quite frankly. I've lived in other countries, and this is the best country in the world. Even with all its problems and its divisions, I believe we remain the best country in the world. Perhaps not perfect, but the best country. And I would ask the question, how did we get that way? Why do we remain, and why have we been the best country throughout our history, and we remain that way? Did that come about by us one generation after another saying, no, we're okay, we don't need change, we don't need to adapt and become better? I think the answer to that is no. I think today we're best because we are a country that every generation has tried to improve on what it had before. This isn't saying that one side is wrong and one side is right. It's not saying that I believe in, if you will, the Republican or the Democrat or the Independent or whatever. Rather, it's saying I believe in the continual improvement comes from teaching our children to look at the world as it is, not as we teach them it is, but to look at it and figure out for themselves what it is and continually ask, how can we make it better? It's never perfect. It always needs to be better. How do we unleash their innate creativity to ask this question. And I think, I've just skipped through a bunch of this thing, I think that we want to teach our future leaders to look at the country, to look at the world with a discerning eye, with their own eye, not the school district's eye, not their parents' eye, not political parties' eye, but their eye. Teach them to look and ask the question, how do I make this better? Better for the people before them that they're standing on the shoulders of, better for themselves, better for their neighbors, better for their kids who will grow to ask again the question, how do I make this better? I'm really proud that I'm in the Guilford School District. My 3 kids have already come through this school. They went to excellent universities and went on for careers, and they have now careers in sciences and liberal arts and in computer sciences. And when I talked to them about their experience here, decades ago, their experience was a really good one. It taught them a lot about some fundamental things. What it didn't do is tell them to look at the world at its warts. And they're seeing those warts now and saying, why didn't I hear about that? So what I want to do is congratulate this school district, this school board, for having the courage to start that process. It's going to be tough. There's always people that say, oh, this is a terrible thing. You do not want to do it. But we need to do it. We need to always tell our kids, don't listen to me. Don't listen to your parents. Don't listen to anyone. Look with an independent eye and ask, how can I make the world better? Thank you so much for helping them do that.
Thank you.
Hi, Amanda Harvanik from 123 Stoneboat Road. I'm going to try to keep this both short and as vague as possible, but I felt like it was important now and couldn't wait. I'd ask the board and those in the district who have oversight abilities here to evaluate the current policies and ensure that there is a specific and clear plan in place should anyone from the school-affiliated mentoring program or any of its mentors make statements or take actions that are clearly discriminatory and harmful to students. As a parent, I absolutely believe that mentors do great work in this district, so I don't want anyone thinking that I'm saying something otherwise. But at the same time, when I did a search on the website, I couldn't see a specific policy and how it related to the mentors.
While this I'm so very sorry. I'm going to interrupt you for 2 seconds and just be clear that the youth mentoring program is certainly has strong connections and works within our school, but has its own governing body that is separate from the Guilford Board of Education. So if you have concerns about their approach or their website, I'm going to ask you to go to the board of the Guilford Youth Mentoring Program.
No,
and
yeah, I
address them with
understand
them.
that. I'm saying, sorry, the website comment is from the school district. If you click on it, then it goes to their sort. And I understand that there's, this partnership here, but as a school district, the school is ultimately responsible for the well-being of all the students. So as the district is referring students, et cetera, I think that the district is responsible and should have a plan in place for how to reevaluate policies or, whatever communication you want to say with the mentoring program. Because given the recent comments in the community, I'd be very wary, even though this is a school-affiliated program, having my children involved, if there is not, a clear and parent-facing public oversight and plan of action for any events that occur.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board this evening? Mr. Mitchell, I'm gonna look at, okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me keep asking you. I just don't want to miss anyone online. All right. Wow, banner amount of time here. Thank you again to the community for joining us. Thank you, those of you who have joined us online or are watching us on GCTV, and certainly to those of you in the room. We have come to the end of our meeting tonight, and so I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you very much.